So, when did everything really start going to shit? When did humans begin altering the composition of the land, sea, and air so drastically that it initiated a new geologic era? Defining the beginning of the Anthropocene requires the identification of clear markers of global scale change in stratigraphic material like sediment, rock, and glacier ice. Such markers are called global stratotype sections and points, or GSSPs, or golden spikes. Golden spike candidate number 1, the Great Acceleration. This post-World War II era spawned an unprecedented explosion in human population, enormous shifts in natural processes, and the proliferation of plastics. 1964 marks the peak level of radioactive isotope 14C in the atmosphere, mirroring the Cold War peak in nuclear bomb testing. Could this be our golden spike? While ice cores, lake and salt marsh sediments, corals, speleothems, and tree rings all record this mid-century radioactivity, radionuclide fallout ultimately did not cause major biological repercussions across the planet. Golden spike candidate number 2, the Industrial Revolution. When we think of this era, we think of the acceleration of fossil fuel usage and the paradigm shifts that came with the modern factory. According to who you talk to, the Industrial Revolution began anywhere between 1760 to 1880. It's difficult to nail down a golden spike, as coal's slow and gradual adoption made little impact on ice core records for 100 years. Furthermore, many historians agree that industrialization was only made possible by the annexation of the Americas. This land grab liberated Europe from its ecological limits and ensured constant economic growth into new markets. Slavery in the Americas allowed for cheap resource extraction that freed European labor, nurturing the conditions for Europe's industrialization in the first place. Golden spike candidate number 3, European colonization of the so-called Americas. The Columbian Exchange extended the range of many plant species transcontinentally. For example, the well-preserved pollen of Z. mace, or corn, first appears in European marine sediment core in 1600. Similarly, bananas first show up in phytoliths in Central and tropical South American soil around the same time. This unprecedented transoceanic exchange of crops, animals, people, and pathogens has led to the first total homogenization of the Earth's biota. The arrival of the Europeans in America not only transformed the diet of most of humanity, but also led to catastrophic population loss. Recent modeling estimates that around 50 million people died between 1492 and 1650 due to war, enslavement, famine, and disease. This loss of life left abandoned an estimated 50 million hectares of farmland in the Americas, allowing for the regeneration of forests, woody savanna, and grasslands that all swallowed 5 to 40 petagrams of carbon within 100 years. This also contributed to the Little Ice Age, which witnessed a 1 to 2 degree winter temperature decrease in Europe and North America. We therefore propose that the 7 to 10 ppm dip in atmospheric CO2 to a low point of 271.8 ppm in the Law Dome ice core dated 1610 is an appropriate GSSP marker. This is known as the 1610 Orbis spike, the first cry of the modern world system. To understand what it means to be free, we must understand what it means to be a slave. Slave, from the French esclave, derives from the post-classical Latin sclavus, referring to the Slavs often taken as captives in the 9th and 10th centuries. As David Graeber and David Wengrow note, a slave has no family, no kin, no community. They can make no promises and forge no ongoing connections with other human beings. This fundamentally inhuman isolation, which Orlando Patterson describes as social death, finds its contrast in the word freedom. Free derives from the Proto-Indo-European root pre, meaning to love, from which the word friend also derives. According to the Oxford Dictionary, the sense evolution of love to free emerged as communities differentiated loved ones from slaves. So to be free is to love and be loved in return. But must this come at the expense of others? Liberalism, the basis for Western civilization, which champions democracy, justice, and of course, freedom, interprets freedom in two main ways: negative freedom and positive freedom. Negative freedom, or classical liberalism, means freedom of choice without external interference on the individual. Think of an atomized society, where you don't owe anyone anything, and no one owes anything to you. This is the freedom to choose where you work and where you live, but it also means the absolute freedom to make a profit, and the freedom to buy slaves. As history reveals, this extreme form of freedom generates great social inequality between those with land and money and those without. Both master and slave occupy two ends of a power dynamic defined by individualism over community. Positive freedom, or modern liberalism, which developed in light of the voracious exploitation of the Industrial Revolution, means freedom for the individual to foster their individuality, gain knowledge, and develop their capabilities to the fullest. Think of a society in which individuals are materially accountable to one another. What good is freedom of speech and freedom of opportunity if society can't ensure baseline freedom from poverty? The freedom of a minority at the expense of another social group is tyranny. Can we expand freedom for all by limiting an individual's ability to exploit another? Is an every man for himself attitude natural, Thomas Hobbes, board member of the Virginia Company? Are humans not mammals too? Social creatures that thrive through collaboration. Western civilization touts freedom as its greatest virtue, and yet it feeds on avaricious resource extraction, exploited labor, and human sacrifice. Does citizenship to colonial and settler colonial entities precede natural human rights? Is freedom for some enough? Freedom is the power to move, to disobey, to create a new social reality. Freedom is an action, and we cannot be free without each other.